Okay, so I'll try really quick this time to talk about Recreators and Last Action Hero. Now, I believe in Recreators that reality is what you make of it. Kind of more of don't let negativity bog you down, I guess. So it's similar to the message in Last Action Hero. But if you know one or the other, but don't know the other, basically it's the same premise where you know fictional characters in a visual medium can come into our world, interact with us, and realize they have a fan base. And so, and there's a lot that goes down in both these stories, but basically, it it's a very unique premise being able to meet your creator basically in both stories. The same thing happened in Inkheart. It was a similar process where a type of person has a magic uh, to bring book characters to life and realizing what their story is. It's like, what do you mean I die? He goes, oh, I just threw that away, and you can see the process of like how um, callous or flippant or basically mean or cold-hearted a creator can be, where they just throw away their main character and say, "Oh yeah, you die." The end, or something like that. So, uh, and where a villain is actually doing the logical thing, to a certain extent, until he does the illogical thing, and it's like, okay, you were doing good up until that point, there, sir. You're being logical and smart and methodical, and now you're being an idiot. It's like, why don't you just put a gun to your head while you're at it and play Russian roulette? You know. So yeah, in all three films, it's a rather interesting take because this is hardly ever really done. Because when you have something, pop out of a storybook, they usually realize that they're okay. They know it's a different world. They're fine with it. Something out of Ronald McDonald and Friends, or Barney and Friends, or whatever little kidsy thing. You know, everyone's cool with being a fictional character, or at least an otherworldly character, or an isekai character. There was even an episode of Fairly Godparents where Timmy brings the Chin into his world. Yeah, that was fun. Um, so yes, it's a very unused medium, but when it is used, it's done very well. I mean, all these stories have done it pretty well. They go through the psychological emotions of shock and denial, and then acceptance and all that. So it is rather quite good. Um, and yeah, you kind of feel the anger at first because it's like, what do you mean I'm at the whims of someone else? If someone's writing my life story, and they wanted it to be a tragedy or to give me a tragic backstory in order to uh, give it pathos or reason. It's like, you didn't have to do that. Those felt like a dick move. And it's like, yeah, okay. If someone else would have found out that their tragedy in their lives was decided upon by somebody who's just another human being, it's like, yeah, that can be rather annoying and rather, disheartening. But yeah, I bring all this up to say that, well, it's an unused medium. It's rather quite good. It's an introspective look at character who realizes I'm literally a fictional character, and you see the how the real world is supposed to be represented as the real world, where it is basically drama world, basically, and then you have the action comedy world with Last Action Hero, and then you have um, the mecha science fiction world, and yeah, the mecha sci-fi fantasy world. and you had the other couple of different worlds too. We had some of the magic users and everybody else have their own slightly different world where they represent different genre types. And in recreators, and see how different expectations of how people interact in their world. So, and that is more not more prevalent than in Last Action Hero. They go for a lot of the not parallels, but the differences between worlds. In recreators, it's the prominent fact is that food is not that tasty because the concept of food wasn't really given much thought. So food's not really all that prevalent in a side scroller or whatever. Um, Wherever that magic user is from, the game she's from. So when she comes to the real world, she loves chips because chips have more of a flavor to them. And so in Last Action Hero, he's never heard of classical music. He cannot play chicken with a car, play chicken in a car and expect to come out on top. But there was some plot armor in the fact that, yeah, he knew he was in a superior vehicle, so he knew he would come out more on top. Not exactly on top, but more on top if it went sideways. So he was smart enough to realize he was going to be fine. But then with everything else, breaking a window with your hand, with your fist, actually does hurt. Getting There was no plot armor in getting shot. So his world caters to him heavily because he does such outrageous things, but it always plays in his benefit. So that world caters to him a lot. And he finds out later, I rather like being in my world where I don't have to worry about death constantly. But he did get weary about having to deal with all these constant, big adventures. He says, "Why am I getting caught up in all these crazy adventures? That's not how life's supposed to be." But I still keep on getting into these things. But then once you take out the plot device, you realize, all right, I'm still the same person who goes into these things because it matters that I do this because I save lives. But he kind of likes the fact his world because he likes the fact that it keeps him alive. And they say you don't die until the grosses go down, which is that you stop making money, and then they'll kill you off. So, yeah, I highly recommend all the titles I mentioned. It's a very um, small or niche fandom to get into. It's basically right next door to isekai, pretty much, because it is basically isekai. But when the fictional character comes to the real world, instead of someone from the real world going to an isekai world or another world, well, basically, it's instead of Dorothy going to Oz, it's E.T. coming to America, basically. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Go check out all these titles I've mentioned. See if you like them, and trust me when I say there is a lot of talking in Recreator. So be prepared to be kind of bored at times because the dialogue it's very heavy in dialogue, but the action scenes are awesome. The concepts are very awesome, and the heaviness of the emotions is actually pretty good. I don't know if they're ever going to do a follow up, but I hope someday they will, or at least come up with something similar to it. All right, so take care, and as always, see you at the movies. Bye.